Hi, welcome to the Healthcare Terminology Overview and Course Preview. My name is Shauna Dosser, and I'm the System Academic Project Manager, and I will be hosting today's meeting. Today's program will include the following agenda items. To offer some background information, in addition to developing the Healthcare Terminology course, we also developed a new digital development process to be used college-wide. An RFP was issued and Elsevier was the selected publisher. It was important to make sure these guiding tenets were part of the process. Additionally, we selected to use an outside external auditing company called Quality Matters to help review and making sure it met the highest standards. Our first presenter is Lynn Wright, and she is the System Director of Curriculum and Product Development. We will be joining her as she is already in progress discussing course attributes and the must-haves for the development of this course. She's first mentioned the connections to careers and how important it is for the course to really tie together for the student the connection between career and healthcare terminology.
They also need to know that whatever course is being used, it's not the course itself. For example, the book that was previously used in ALT 100 had a significant content on physiology and anatomy as well as diseases. This wasn't necessarily the focus of midterm and could have caused some students to be overwhelmed. We want the course to be based on the outcomes, not the book. Therefore, this is book agnostic. One of the things we also needed for this course is that students deserve and need frequent feedback. So we used formative assessments built within Blackboard to assure that there was frequent information shared with the students as to where they're performing and where they need work. We have a standardized summative assessments that are required of this course, as well as a standardized grade book that makes it easy for students and faculty to be able to follow. We wanted interactive activities to engage the various learning styles. Those were our must-haves. The nice-to-haves were to give our instructors some sample lesson plans and instructor notes for those that were new to teaching the course or those that obviously wanted to experience the best practice of those who had beta tested. We wanted to also offer a repository of supplemental resources and have created a faculty toolbox, which you'll get to see in a few moments, and also give our instructors sample materials to be able to choose the media that they might use term by term. So those are the course attributes. You're not probably going to be able to see this very well as I look at the slide, but the piece that was absolutely important here was helping our students understand time on task. We all know that it's one of the 7 principles. Number 5, emphasize time on task. We wanted to have students properly allocate their time and energy in class, whether it's virtual or face-to-face, as well as out of class, and to know how much of their time and energy should be dedicated to the various assignments and activities. Secondarily, we want to use the time on task to be able to show instructional activities are sufficient for the award of credit and to follow the Carnegie model. So that grid that's in the course is very useful, and we want students to see that and for faculty to follow it. Next, I'm going to pass it over to Shauna, and she's going to speak to the team of people that were involved with this course. Shauna.
Thank you, Lynn. Basically, we'd like to recognize everyone that took part in this process, and we had a large team of folks from the college that were part of the development team, and Elsevier, the publisher, had a large group of folks that contributed as well. We have some individuals that should be recognized as part of our advisory committee, and you can see their names listed. As part of this whole process, we did a complete media review and a complete course review, and we took all of the input that was received, and we made modifications to the course before it went into the beta format. So again, thank you to everyone that contributed, and if I've left off your name by accident, I apologize. So what I'd like to do is just talk a little bit about the strategic process. And The course itself has taken a while for us to develop, and part of that is because we developed a new process along the way for the college. When we were first given this charge from the executives, it was to develop a process that would help us moving forward with all curriculum development. And we put together something called our Master Course Design document, which to date is a 70-page document that has everything there is to know about that you would need to know about the course, but it's outlined everything. So if you were to have a lesson plan that you would develop yourself, you would pull from this information. You wouldn't have to research everything. It's all there because we want it for accreditation as well as for us to have as our archives in our files for course development. You can see that at the macro level, we've taken and given a screenshot. There's a preview of what should be in each of the units, and that's been broken down and mapped to all of the course outcomes. And as we move into the micro level, all the information is available to the faculty members so that they can see this as well. Now, I'm not going to go into all of the details here, but this is the actual process that was developed. So we started at a macro level, and then we broke it down into several micro levels, keeping in perspective that we have some difference between on-ground development and online, that there are some variations that needed to be considered. And our team of advisors as well as faculty and staff were people from both places, from the campuses and from online as we went through this. We had internal approval set points, and we also have external approval auditing going on. So the left side of the screen basically shows you the process, and then we went to the right side of the screen, which was to produce this into a new format, a format for both WebAssist and for online that would be very user-friendly, easy to maneuver, and help with both the faculty and the students having access to multiple modes of information. Once we got through the development stage, then it was to move it towards the beta. And right now we are currently running a beta for testing how this new structure works. And then following the beta process, we will have this course ready for review by an external audit, which is what Lynn had mentioned before. Quality Matters is an outside agency that reviews courses, and it's a peer-reviewed certificate program for colleges, and there are over 800 colleges that use that. So this kind of gives you an overview that this was more complex than just building one course. We're setting the college up for some new process and procedures. At this time, I'd like to hand it over to Christy, and I'd like to introduce you to Dr. Christy Perello-Okeke, and she's our subject matter expert for the HCAS123 course. She's also online faculty administrator and instructor in the Allied Health Department. So, Christy?
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. As both Lynn and Shauna have stated, we have been working diligently on this course, and this course is essentially two courses. We've developed a 15-unit course that can be used on our campuses, which is web-assisted, and then an online course, which is, of course, 7.5 weeks. And then we've also developed this process. So it's taken some time, but I truly believe that throughout this process, we are going to see improvement in our retention rates and our success rates and mastering of course outcomes, which is the goal of this course. This is a little snippet. No, go back.
Oh, sorry.
This is a little snippet from our course syllabus. So of course, you see it's the HCAS123 healthcare terminology. It took some time in renaming this course. We didn't want it to be medical terminology, which is what we've seen in the past. Again, this is commonly used in healthcare professions, so it's not just for, what we've seen, our certified medical assisting students, our medical administrative assisting students. This is covering more ground than that. This course also has 5 outcomes. Within those outcomes, we don't see an emphasis on diseases and anatomy and physiology, because again, this is not the course that is geared towards anatomy and physiology. This course will give our students a working vocabulary, which is what they need to build, so that our students can pronounce, spell, use, and understand this vocabulary. So not every detail of each body system is provided in this course. It is an overview. And this is really important, of course, looking forward for our certification exams that our students will have to take, so that they can develop that fluency and understanding when they're working with several different healthcare professionals. Across higher education, every institution, I believe, gives top priority to boosting retention, passing rates, and job placement. So those were crucial when we were designing and building this course. These goals were at the forefront of our project. When you look in this course, you will actually see there are many features when we designed it. So for one, easy navigation, that multi-sensory approach to learning. So we tapped into the auditory, the visual, the kinesthetic, and the combination learner, which is really important because not all of our online students learn the same way that our on-campus students. Every student in each classroom setting learns differently. Embedded within, I've seen some questions about how it's built in Blackboard. So in the past, sometimes our students would have to be taken to Connect or PageBurst. This is not the case with the course. Everything is embedded within our course. They don't need a separate account, a separate login. Everything is built within it. So it's a single sign-on. There's auditory, visual, kinesthetic assets, and then the interactive articulate lessons with self-checks. This is very different than what we've seen in our previous courses at Bryan and Stratton College. Typically, we see a lecture. From experience, I've been with the college for 7 years. I can probably say half of the students, maybe even less than that, go through the lecture material in each course. There's slides or a PowerPoint presentation from the publisher. We specifically designed every lecture individually, and it's interactive. So there's auditory, there's visual, and there's self-checks. So they go through a few slides, and then they're actually given a self-check to see if they've mastered or understood the material that was just presented to them. Also within a lecture, they will actually get a glossary in the upper right-hand corner. So they can actually click on those terms, those medical terms that they see that they may not understand, and it'll populate a definition for them. So they don't have to go to another resource, Google or a dictionary. Right there, it's within the interactive lecture. Ready access to content. So we have a student toolbox, a faculty toolbox, and hands-on practice activities. Hands-on practice activities out of those 3 I think is most important, and what I found in the beta thus far to be really valuable to our students. So our students in the past, one of the outcomes of this course is pronunciation. Our students need to be able to pronounce those terms. In the past courses, if you look at the MAT 100 and the MRC 100 medical terminology courses as they are built right now, there is no activity that allows our students to practice the pronunciation of each term they are learning in that week's lesson. So typically we'll send them to Quizlet.com, or an instructor will create an audio, a file with them reciting each term. This course, the way that it was designed, has a pronunciation practice activity to allow the student to go back and forth, and they can repeatedly practice these terms. And then they're given an assignment to submit, but they have allowed, that practice activity has allowed them the opportunity to practice those terms and hear them correctly pronounced. Also embedded within our interactive lecture are the ability to listen to those terms as well, and then a self-check to check to see if they correctly heard the term and understood it as it was supposed to be, properly pronounced. Career connections, this is one thing, of course, with our new college initiative, Career Prep, we're tapping into that. We've developed career reflections. In the past, we've asked students to recap what they learn and then relate that to their future career or personal life. These are really, they tap right into the career and how they can use what they've learned that week or in over several weeks, use it in their field. And that may not be as a medical administrative assistant. That may be as working in the hospital or working with health service administration or in billing and coding. And so it's more broad-based, but it really taps into the career of their what they choose to go down, whatever road they choose to go down. Printable PDF documents. We have several of them. So we have a course overview, we have a course overview video, and then we also provide the students a PDF which recaps it, again, tapping into that multisensory approach. A glossary of terms that's also not just available within the interactive lectures, but it's also available within our student toolbox. Roadmaps. Several of our students get confused with what is due each week, what is required of them. So we have actually presented each student each week with a roadmap that lays out what is required, what they need to complete, and then columns, which allows them to mark off when they've completed it or when they intend to work on it, which helps set them up for that time on task chart that we've showed you several slides ago, so they can effectively manage their time. PowerPoints and scripts, of course, each of our interactive lectures provides our students that interactive lecture. They can actually print out that lecture for them to keep if they want it. And then scripts to be ADA compliant. We have scripts for each of our lectures as well. We have several videos in this course, so we have an introduction to this course and a course overview. And then I've also created some how-tos, so how to maximize your grade and discussion, how to use your Ask Your Instructor efficiently and effectively. And then all of our practice activities and games have how-tos as well. So how to complete this flashcard activity. So not just providing the student written directions, but video instructions as well. We held a media review that actually occurred the end of last summer. So when we started this process, we were referring to a Chabner book. If you look at this slide, though, you'll see that there's a Chabner short, which is on the left-hand side of this chart, and then there's a Chabner, which is on the right-hand side. The Chabner on the right-hand side is a comprehensive level of coverage. So we see right now there's two books that I've seen used at our campuses on that comprehensive side of the spectrum. These two books, I can honestly say, would be something that I would use in a gross anatomy course. You'd see this at doctorate or master level courses. They have a comprehensive review and coverage of anatomy and physiology, and it's just too much for our students. It's impossible to get through that course in that book in 7.5 weeks or in a 15-unit course on campus. So we refocused our efforts on the left-hand side of this chart, Chabner, LaFleur, and Leonard. We sent out a review to all of our, not every single faculty, but several faculty that you saw on a previous slide, and they gave us their honest feedback about these books and the assets that they offer to our students. And we came up in this course with LaFleur and Chabner to be the best suited for this course. Lynn had made note about it being book agnostic, which it is. But if we had to pick a book for this course, we would pick one of the two. LaFleur in the middle is a great textbook because it's a working textbook. So it's like a textbook and a workbook, and it's divided in lessons. Lessons are easier to digest than chapters. Our students can actually write within the textbook, and the answers are in the back of the textbook. So they don't need an answered key that they need to download. They don't need to go to Evolve or PageBurst to get those answer and retrieve those answer keys, which sometimes can be difficult for the students to locate. Chabner is also a short course, and it was a wonderful book as well. LaFleur covers healthcare terminology from an administrative perspective a bit more than the Chabner short course, which is hence why I had preferred the LaFleur, and several of our faculty saw that that was also stated that they preferred it as well. You can see that it's light on anatomy and physiology coverage, which is really, again, important in this course for to master our course outcome for our students. So as you can see, at the top of the list, we have LaFleur and Chabner. Leonard is a third choice. The additional tools that our students will receive with this package are Mosby's medical terminology flashcards. Anyone that's in healthcare knows that Mosby is top-notch. They develop great tools for students, so our students can have those at hand. Those will also help them when they prepare for their certification exams. Instead of going back to a textbook, they can go back to flashcards and practice them. And then a Forney's medical dictionary. In the past, we've seen students use tabers, but this medical dictionary offers our students healthcare terminology. So they're going to see terminology such as the CMS 1500 form, ICD-10, UBO4, co-insurance, co-payment. Those are crucial moving forward, that they get introduced to those terms right off the bat. Other also important notes, as I stated, the course is designed book agnostic, so if you were to choose Lafleur or you were to choose Chabner or even Leonard, you could still operate this course as it stands. Prior, again, the MAT 100 and the MRC 100 book were a bit way too complex for this course, and this is also designed for non-accredited programs. So we'll see two formats in Blackboard. We've developed a WebAssist version, which is 15 units, and an online version that's 7.5 weeks. The difference between the two, of course, in 7.5 weeks, I'm taking 15 units of information and condensing it, so I've had to combine body systems. Body systems that made sense to combine, that were easy to digest a course across a week. WebAssist, we had, the beta was scheduled, but due to low enrollment, again, we are in the Western New York market, due to low enrollment, we could not run that for May. So right now we're running the online version of the course. We have 29 students. I, of course, am the instructor, and I also have a co-instructor, Rakisha Gilmore-Bird, and it started in June, and it'll end in the next 2 weeks. So some insight. The development process, I've already stated, it was lengthy, but again, we weren't just developing one course. We were developing the process. We went through a meter review, and then we developed essentially 2 courses. The differences, I believe, are going to help our students. So the format of the course is a bit different than what we've seen in the past. It's easier to navigate. We're working with media, so we have a working textbook, and our students also have flashcards and a medical dictionary at hand. Student responses during the beta, within each of the weeks that I'm running right now, we have offered surveys to the students to gather feedback on what they like and what maybe is difficult or challenging, so that we can get an overall impression of what's working and what's not working. And then also I've discussed with Rakisha as my co-instructor what she also sees from her perspective that's working and not working. Some of the student feedback that we received, they love the practice activities. The students have asked to have them in other courses. They're hoping that these assets will be in their future courses because it allows them to master these course outcomes. And again, some of them are timed and they want to beat a score and they receive a score, so they'll go back and continuously replay the game to get that higher score. So the 2 assets they really like are flashcard and pronunciation activities, which again, we're lacking in the previous courses. Now we're going to give you a quick tour of our course in Blackboard. We will not be able to click on every link and show you everything that's available. We will also have a training available starting August 1st for the course, which will give you a little bit more access to the course itself.
Before we do the tour, there was a question submitted about first-term experience and technology. So I just want to address that. The Medical Administrative Assisting Program, as well as Medical Reimbursement and Coding, have not been fully converted to the first-term experience. So right now for fall, HCAS is in the first term. We feel that it is complementary to the first-term experience because we would not expect a WebAssist student to go and do this independently. They are being guided by the instructor, and the resources like flashcards, the workbooks, and the other materials the instructor will choose to give to the student in hard copy rather than depend on technology. For January, when the committees continue their work, it is likely that the two degree programs will change and there might be a shift in the course order. So I just wanted to make that clear. For September, HCAS is going to be in the first term for MRC and MAAT. For health services, it is a second term course, but stay tuned, that is likely to change for January. So thank you, and on with the tour.
Okay, great. Thank you, Lynn. All right, go ahead. You can talk. Christy's going to start with just the overview from a faculty perspective, and then I'll come in with some of the design information.
As with all of our courses, it's really important that we use our announcement page, which every student will see when they enter a course. With this course, I have used active. I don't post announcements every day, but I try to stick to every 2 days just to remind students of what's due, what's coming up, and then some helpful tips as well. So I encourage anyone that's teaching this course to use the announcement page actively, because that's the first thing that our students will see when they enter the course.
Also, just a reminder, we've added a little green note here to each of the pages. If a WebAssist student has never gone online before, they may not understand maneuvering between the blue tabs and the course right away until they've actually watched the video to do so. So we've tried to kind of put little tidbits in here and messages to them to help remind them on how to maneuver. So I'm going to go up to the Meet Your Instructor now.
So Meet Your Instructor, of course, an instructor is going to provide their email. I provide my students my telephone number. Some use Google Voice. Of course, office hours. Online, we're required to provide our students at least 1 hour live each week. And then just a little snippet about who you are. I actually also created a little video introducing myself to my students. Again, it's not... It is not required, but just adds that personal touch to the course. Some students in the past have expressed that they didn't even think a live teacher was teaching them. They thought it was someone else. And so that just adds that personal touch.
Next. And the nice thing is Christy did the video with her telephone. So it's the camera on her phone. So instructors, you have this ability to use some of these other medias. Go ahead and use them because the students are looking for it. It's kind of fun to be able to do that.
Next folder we have is the intro documents. So when you receive the shell of this course, it will of course contain our course syllabus and our supplemental syllabus, as well as a tracking calendar. Online, they're going to stick with the tracking calendar. I know in the WebAssist version, they're going to be able to tailor their course the way they want. We are asking that at least for the fall semester to stick by the tracking calendar, and then we can gather some feedback. We have not run a beta on campus, so we want to gather some input, and then we'll coordinate with the instructors that are teaching the course, and then we can make some adjustments for January. But for the fall semester, please stick with the tracking calendar that's been placed, as well as the other documents. The other documents that you'll see are the discussion and career rubrics. Again, career reflection rubrics are going to be different than the reflections you have seen. There are different point system, there are different columns, there's different things that are being, different grade allocations in that rubric.
Okay.
And scroll down a little bit more. The other rubrics you're going to see are a proofreading and a pronunciation rubric. So all of the rubrics will be contained in this folder.
Okay. All right, and then we'll go to Ask Your Instructor.
Ask Your Instructor. In the past, of course, we see, a basic directing our students to post questions. I just added, again, that personal touch. And I also added a little short 20-second video just introducing myself to students and just sharing with them that it's okay for them to post a question and that I will promptly answer those questions within 24 hours.
All right, great. Okay, we're going to go over to the course, and I have The one that's open right now is the online version. I also have the 15-week version, 15 units as well. And as you can see in the top of the fold above the bottom of the computer, we have directions. The reason for this is to help those students that may have taken the NAV 101 in the past. We have some differences here. So for those students who are taking online classes, we're going to leave this piece up. And then you can see that we have the 7.5 folders here. If you were to go over to the 15 unit, that you would find the same information. And you would see all 15. What we've tried to do is keep these units by topic. And by combining topics that will fit together into the 7.5-week course, we've taken a lot of time to figure out which topics go hand in hand, which ones are the longer and more intense dialogue that need to occur with that particular chapter versus information that is a little bit less complex. Okay, so at the top here you'll notice there's an overview video. And this is a video that was designed specifically for HCAS. We have two separate videos, one for the WebAssist and one for the online course. It was developed to help the student to understand what the expectations are for them to maneuver throughout the course. The nice part about it is there is a printable script that goes along with it. And as Christy has mentioned, we are really trying to make this so that they can have the directions in hand if they want to print them, or they can have them in a video format. I know that there are a lot of learners that really like the audio portion of it, and it gives them something more than just, I don't even know if you can hear it or not, because the speakers aren't near there, but it just gives you a visual that goes along with it.
Now let's get started.
Anyway, so that kind of shows you a little bit on the video. We also have roadmaps, and each of the courses are developed into 5 folders. So let's just go into one of these. I'm going to go into the 15 unit. Hang on, I lost it. The 15 unit version, because I have this one set up as a student view rather than the faculty view. So if we were to, do you want to go into unit 1? We're going to go into unit 1. Okay. Oh, Christy would like to show you the roadmap. Go ahead and you can talk about that.
Yeah, so in each unit, again, as I stated, that roadmap, it serves as a checklist. Not all students will use it, but some will. So that was our point. We're going to provide our students with lots of tools. Some students will find them helpful. Some may not use them, and that's okay. Again, we have columns, due date, completed, submitted, and maybe some notes about it. So again, just to help keep that time efficiency and that time on task for each student. When you go into each unit, again, you will see there's 5 folders that we've set up. And each week, we will see that there is one discussion and then an interactive lecture. In the 7.5-week format, you'll see more than one lecture because, again, we combine body systems. So there is a lecture for each body system. With each lecture, you'll actually see, again, a printable version of the lecture and a printable version of the glossary of terms.
They can also access this in the lecture itself. Do you want me to just open one of the lectures? Now, unfortunately, you cannot hear, except for through, you can't hear the lectures and the content well, but it gives you an idea of what the format looks like.
The scroll bar is on the left-hand side so they can see actually, the different topics they need to hit that are going to be talked about within this lecture. Again, I stated there's going to be self-checks within the lecture. The next button, which just prompts them to scroll onto the next slide. The objectives that are going to be taught within that interactive lesson. Visually stimulating, again, that auditory piece. The kinesthetic learners are going to love this because they're going to be able to click on different things. And again, there's pop of color. So it's engaging. They actually want to participate and scroll through the lecture.
And we've gotten great feedback from the students. Like, they love the fact that we have self-checks built in, and these are just some of the lecture.
Time to do a self-check. In the upper right-hand, show them the glossary and the PDF.
Yeah. Up here we have references, a glossary of terms, which pops up so that they can see this at any time, and then they can go back to the course. They also have the PowerPoint. On the left side, we also have a glossary of terms. So say they don't know a word that they just heard or saw, they can go in here and the definition will pop up right below it. So it's very interactive. The self-checks, now that I've gotten us off on where we were before, I don't know if I can get us back to self-check. There we go. So the student can go and they can slide across. I'm just going to slide them like this to see how it works. And then they submit it. We got it wrong, so then they get to try it again. So they pull them back, and they can put them here and try again. Actually, let's do this. But I wanted to show, because if they get it wrong 3 times, they'll get the correct answer. So we do not leave them without the answer, but you can see they'll have a lot of fun doing these. So these self-checks are intermittent within the course, and it adds to that interactive learning, engagement, and the students are able to really practice and learn at the same time. Okay, so let's go into, let's go back to this one. And did you want to go to week 4 or unit 4? Is that the one?
Yeah.
All right, we're going to go to 8. Sorry, we're just going to unit 8. Okay.
And once again, we have a lecture. Again, we have a discussion. WebAssist version of this course when it's taught on campus, I imagine that instructors will want to use the discussion outside of class, so it would be something that they would have their students, they talk about the digestive system in class and then have the students engage in the discussion outside. There's also practice activities, which is that 3rd folder there. Each week has a different number of practice activities, so some weeks have labeling and some may not. It depends on the body system and what was available. You'll see 3 things for each activity. So the printable instructions, the video tutorial, and then you click here to actually enter the activity.
Enter this activity.
Again, this is just some of the activities, just showcasing so our students, again, that interactivity. As we know, the more senses we use to take in information, the more quicker it will be stored in our short-term memory, or in our long-term memory, I should say. Sorry. The students, again, I stated the 2 that they love the most thus far are these flashcards, and then there's also a pronunciation activity. Go back and show the pronunciation.
I don't know if I'll be able to hear it.
Yeah. You might not be able to hear it.
Abdominocentesis, aphasia, dysentery.
And then you can also click on the spelling, and you listen to the medical term, and then they have the ability to spell it, and then you submit it to see if they got it correct. Because again, the course outcome, not only do they need to pronounce these medical terms, but they also need to know how to spell them correctly.
Aphasia. Aphasia.
And then there's several games. Again, we have 8 different games. Medical, there's millionaire, like the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire game. This is Name That Word part.
Gotta go fast.
Some of them are timed. Again, these are not graded. These are practice activities.
Okay. Just showing. And I got to turn it off. Okay.
And then if we go back to the next folder, you'll see assignments. Again, and then click on assignments. Again, the 3 major assignments in this course are the pronunciation of the healthcare terms, So again, they've had the ability to hear it in the interactive lecture. They've had the ability to practice it with the pronunciation practice assignment, and now they have to submit. There are 3 ways. In the past, we've used Audacity. That hasn't worked for all of our students, depending on the PC that they have. So we've also given them directions for Microsoft PowerPoint, which all of our students have to use, and then most of our students love using their cell phones. So we've given them and provided directions for that. There's no question. I can honestly say during this beta, I've not had one question as to how to record their pronunciation assignments. In the past, I get them weekly. Proofreading, we've given them little vignettes. They actually have to go through and identify the medical terms that are incorrectly spelled, and then submit the correct spelling. And then I made note to the career reflections. Career reflections are not assigned every week. There's 3 of them in the course. So in week 2, week 8, and week 14 for the WebAssist version, and then in the 7.5-week course, week 2, week 4, and week 7. Okay. And then as we see with other courses, the last folder.
I'm going to, right here?
Scroll down.
Oh, for the assessment.
And then the last folder is the assessment. So they'll have a quiz, and then there's a midterm and a final in the course, and then weekly quizzes.
Okay. One of the things that I'd like to point out, and I'm looking at the student view right now, is the student resource button. And what we've been able to do with the HCAS course is all of the normal information is on the right side that is provided by online, but on the left side is course specific. This is everything that has been given to the student within the course, and it's available in one location. And the part that makes this nice is each student doesn't have to search within the course to find things. They watch a course overview video. The printable instructions are here. We have all the videos down here, so the 8-minute video is located here. We also have a 4-minute video that is in the first discussion in the first unit, and it's a 4-minute video of what the expectations are of a student who is going into medical administrative assisting or healthcare administration or even billing and coding. And that was done by Elsevier, the publisher, and it's very, very nice. It sets the stage for the student. The video helps them to understand what they're going into and why they need to know the words and understand the implications if they don't. All of this information is throughout the course, but we've tried to make it so that if a student needs access to something quickly, it gives them access and availability. We have also done this for the instructors. So for the faculty toolbox, this is in the instructor view. There's the faculty toolbox. We also have a faculty toolbox with everything here for you. And these are the instructor PowerPoints that are located here, as well as the videos and the how-tos and so forth. And we've taken a lot of time to really help kind of give you a catalog and a way to store your information efficiently and have quick access to it. And for those of you who, really look for simplicity, this is the whole point of having the faculty toolbox for you as well. So we're hoping that these things are well received. And I know that we're not able to go out and get some of the phone calls right now from, well, we could try. Do you want to try to see if Rakisha could come on to see if she can unmute her?
Can you find Rakisha for us?
I think we can unmute Rakisha and Gina Hopf, both of them. Okay, so just in talking about the course, our goal with this course was if a student or a faculty member was looking for something, that they could come in from multiple ways. They could find the information going through the course. They could save it to their computer. They can have access to it in the toolbox. And our hope is to complement the course in its entirety. Now, one of the things that I want to focus on is the fact that if you are an instructor for a WebAssist course, how does that differ from the online? Well, what we wanted to be able to do, instead of to give you an empty shell and say, create your course and build it, we give you a full shell and say, take out what you don't want to use and make it a little bit different than some of the other WebAssist programs, how they currently are. Take the course, pull out the pieces that you want to do in the classroom and take them off of the online piece. You can just minimize it, save it, put it aside. You can take some of these activities, and instead of having them just doing the activities at home like online would be doing, you could have them in the classroom and have competitions with small teams and groups. There are ways that you can make this your own, and our goal is that the students use some of these memorization tools to help them, because the ultimate goal of the course is for them to know the terminology. And so whatever way you find works best for your particular group, that's great. So,
Rakisha, can you speak to your experience thus far?
Okay, so now we have
Sure.
Gilmore Bird, and she was the co-instructor, is the co-instructor as part of the beta. So we're going to zip over to her real quick because we're running short on time here.
Briefly, I'm not going to go over the same things that you've already said, Christy. I will just say that it's very interactive, and students ask and we listen to the fact that they like that interaction. They like to feel like you're involved as a faculty, but also the games. The games in this class are insane. I find myself just playing the games, and if a student is interested because and they're doing something that they don't have to do, it's still fun, it's gonna bring the point home. They're gonna get a chance to really make sure that they are pronouncing correctly, they are hearing the words, they can spell the words, having to pull out words from documentation and figure out which ones are spelled incorrectly. It's just really fun. It makes it almost seem like they're not working. It's more than regurgitation, but actual application. So that's kind of all I'll say, except for the fact that the faculty member really at the very beginning of the course, you really have to be right there and as interactive as possible, because there is a learning curve. And while there are a lot of videos, it's a different kind of course, and they're not used to this and they're not expecting it. So they will have quite a few questions at the beginning, but then it becomes repetitive and they're able to navigate through the course very easily, in my opinion.
Thank you, Rakisha.
Great.
Gina?
Gina, are you available?
Hi. Yes, I'm here. Hi, everybody. We really found this process to be very collaborative.
Excuse me 1 second. Gina is from Elsevier, the publisher. I just wanted to make sure I introduce you. Okay, go ahead.
No, that's fine. I mean, we started out with 2 goals, to create an actual course that was student-driven and would increase, the students' knowledge retention, and also to develop a scalable process that we could use regardless of the discipline of the course itself. So our Elsevier, our SMEs, and the faculty at Bryant and Stratton, we worked really closely for the entire cycle of creation for this first course. We tried our best to give students as many avenues to learn as possible. We used all of the institutional program and learning outcomes to focus our search to get the most engaging resources. We at Elsevier, we have a lot. It was almost overwhelming, the amount of resources that we had available for the topic, but we were able to really sharpen our focus and pick out those things we felt would be most interactive and leverage those for our interactive activities for students. And during the Blackboard build, we continued to work together to find different ways we could use the material we found to engage the student. And through that, we were able to develop a formula and specifications for building future courses. I think it's gone rather well, and it's very important that we had that close collaboration throughout the process.
Thank you so much, Gina, and we appreciate everyone's help and assistance in this process. And now, as we move towards the conclusion, we have a couple questions that have come in through the chat room, so we're going to quickly go over a couple, and then what my hope is to continue with the training. The training format will have a list of questions and answers available to you in the training, and I'll talk about that a little bit more in a few minutes. Christy, you want to read a couple questions?
Okay, I'm just looking at the one I see right now. General supplemental syllabi, yes. So in the intro documents folder, you are already going to find your course syllabus, your supplemental syllabus, and a tracking calendar. Again, the WebAssist version on campus, they will, as I stated before, it's really imperative this fall that we keep it the way that we designed it, and then we can congregate and discuss and see what changes maybe we can implement, or maybe things as they stand, in the fall will be wonderful. But as it stands right now, the grade books will be set up, everything will be set to go. What you will be able to determine as an instructor is, am I going to have the students complete the interactive lecture before they come to class, and then I'm going to spin off of it, or am I going to do it within the class? The practice activities, am I going to have them start them at home, or are we going to go through them in the class and then maybe, as Shauna suggested, divide up in teams and have, a competition? So you can use those as you want. Again, the practice activities are simply practice. They are not counted toward their grade. The assignments will be proofreading, pronunciation, and career reflections. Again, career reflections are not provided for the student or assigned each week. They will take the quiz that within the class. And again, you just specify time, and there is no portfolio project for this course. So again, no portfolio project for this course. Some of the questions I've received over the last several weeks and months, as Lynn stated, our medical administrative assistant and medical reimbursement and coding degrees are undergoing a revision for January 2017 start. So for September, this HCAS course is a first-term course for the MAAT and the MRC students, however, a second-term course for our HTHS students. But consistent with, as far as there's going to be no access cards, there's going to be no alternative technologies to access the course content. Everything is held within self-contained within Blackboard. Two, we have another one, this AHLT 100 course. I've gotten a lot of questions about our CMA students, our medical assisting students. Currently, the AHLT 100 course, as I stated, is using a textbook that is comprehensive of anatomy and physiology. That is not what we want to achieve with our course outcomes. The reason we got to this point is because, yes, maybe on your campus you have seen great success with putting medical administrative assistant students, medical reimbursement coding students, and medical assisting students all in the same medical terminology course. That is not indicative over all of our campuses and online. And so with that in mind, we had to create another non-clinical course that is not competency-based. So some have asked, what happens if I have students that sign up for the MAA major, and now all of a sudden they want to be an MA major? I've been given feedback from Lynn that says competency assessments for medical assistant currently exist for the 100 level, as we all know, within the credit by examination program. So students would need to schedule an appointment with the medical assistant program director to demonstrate mastery of those specified competencies associated with the medical assisting courses. So the solution is not to throw everyone in the same course, because they are two different courses. But those students that intend to or decide to switch can take those competencies, but they would have to take it with the program director to master them in order to move on. Textbook selection, that's been a question. Again, for this course, the #1 textbook that was chosen as, for our media review was LaFleur. You can also use Chabner, or you could also use Leonard. Each student, though, depending on no matter what textbook is chosen from those three, will receive the flashcards and will receive that medical dictionary. Okay, good.
I have a question for you about the competency. You said that they would take it with the program director. What exactly does that mean? They're not in a course, right? How do we track that, and what does that mean?
So if a student takes this course and they're signed up to be a medical administrative assistant major, and they take this course, and now they decide after taking this course and maybe A&P or whatever it may be, some of our students decide, you know what, I don't like the administrative aspect of the healthcare profession. I want to be hands-on with patients. So now they decide they want to be a medical assisting student and go for their CMA. The difference between, the major difference for accreditation purposes and for taking that certification exam are those competencies. And so instead of having them take AHLT 100, over, they would have to fulfill those competencies in order to pass through to take their CMA exam. And in order to do that, Lynn has told me that they would have to do that with the program manager, so the Allied Health Program Manager.
One more question, and then we'll...
I just online, I know that we're going to be rolling out this course with co-instructors, which will give, just the different experience when you have a co-instructor. I think it's very helpful. Maybe not as pressuresome on one instructor to navigate the course with the students. And also the students in the past have loved the ability to have access to 2 instructors. So I think it's something that could be thought of also on our campuses to have 2 instructors, but I know that enrollment is a factor with that. So I can't say that that would definitely happen by any means, because you have to have a certain number of enrolled students to make that happen. I know there are several questions I see that are coming up. I promise that we are going to answer them. We just don't have the time to do it right now. And some of these questions need to be directed towards Lynn versus myself or Shauna. And so Shauna's going to comment about the training, and then we're going to make access to the answers to these questions through that training.
Right. So thank you, Christy. And I know that there was a lot of information shared today, and we appreciate everybody staying to the end. Basically, the training will be set up in ARR, and it'll be under the training and library section in the new course training section. So I will send out a notification when it's ready through ARR, and it should come right into everyone's email. If you're not set up in the academic reference room, contact me and let me know, because I can give you some self-enrollment directions. Also, it'll be a self-paced training, and basically you'll go through this, but it'll be gated, so you have to complete one section before you complete the next, and there will be quizzes after each section, so you'll need to pay attention. Quiz questions, not a lot. It's just a matter of making sure that you've watched and learned from the material, so you might want to take a couple notes. And then once you complete this, you will have a certificate, and that'll be kept with Bill Wright's department. So we thank you so much for everything that you've done today in participating. We thank our speakers, our advisors, and at this juncture, we're going to close off. Again, the training will be available August 1st. If you have any questions, you can contact myself at srdosser@bryantstratton.edu. Thank you, and have a great day.